Hi guys, this is Jason Zach from Nathaniel School of Music. In this lesson, we are going to learn good old country piano music, stuff which a lot of us probably grew up on, including myself, believe it or not, a person from Bangalore, India. But yeah, you find a lot of people jiving and grooving to country music. And it's just a common genre which we all come to. I guess country, blues as well has that feeling, and of course, folk music in general. So, country has its roots in blues for sure. There is a lot of bluegrass influences. There are a lot of rock and roll influences, rock influences. Country is now modernized with a lot of the rock vibes, the R&B vibes, and so on. But in this lesson, I'm here to tell you a very old school country pattern. And instead of doing one, I thought we'll do three of the very best. And I also want to mention that these three are inspired or influenced from the Mark Harrison country piano book. So we'll leave a link in the description. He's an incredible author, and his books are amazing. And I use it a lot in my classes with students, and it's really helped us to not only play country but to then use that to play other things along the way. So Mark Harrison country piano, that's where this lesson is pretty much coming from. So first off, what are the properties of the grooves which I'm going to share with you? There are three in number. It's all going to be syncopated, or the left hand and the right hand will work together, and the third one, instead of using the hand syncopation or hand independence only, we are also going to look at some finger independence. So there are three essential old school country rhythm patterns which we are going to learn. Okay, before we get cracking, guys, it'll be awesome if you could subscribe to our channel. If you haven't already, hit that bell icon for regular notifications. And while learning this lesson, if you want to really zero in on whatever I'm teaching you, there are MIDI files and notation files and a lot of my notes for not only this lesson, for pretty much all the other lessons waiting for you on Patreon. And along with being a patron on patreon.com, you can also look at some of the other tiers out there. We've set up a $15, a $30, and of course the default $5 thing, which will continue to give you all my handwritten notes, MIDI, backing tracks, and notation whenever available, of course. And for the $15 and $30 subscriptions, you get lessons with me, you get workshops at the school, you get recordings, and you get a lot of other exclusive stuff waiting for you on our Patreon community. So Patreon will be awesome. Let's now get cracking. Enough of sales. So before I get into the pattern, it's just essential to learn some theory behind what we are doing. For the most part, it's going to be 1, 4, and 5 chords. And the 5 chord will tend to be a dominant 7th chord. You can play it as a 7th chord if you know. So if you take, let's say, the key of A major, A is your 1 chord, A, C sharp, E, then you have your D major, which is your 4 chord. Now you can play it, it's great to learn it in the different inversions. Then you have your E major, which, like I said earlier, you can play it as a dominant 7th chord. There we go. You can play it in all those inversions. Now, it's also nice to know that the tonic chord can also be played as a 7th. If you take A 7th or A major, you add the dominant. Whenever you play this, especially in country, la da 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 da, it tends to want to resolve itself to the 4 of the scale. It's also secondary dominant, or a 5 of the 4, because it's resolving to the 4 of the A major scale, where D happens to be our 4. Okay, so that's about the chord theory behind this. And generally with country piano, it's important to know your root and your fifth, and know your fifth of the chord in both directions. Sometimes you may be expected to play the fifth above the root. Sometimes you may be expected to play the fifth below the root. And then you have the syncopations, which are where the two hands essentially don't collide. They don't play the same thing. It's always like a drum or a percussion instrument, like left, right, those sort of patterns. So just to know, the chords in the right hand, 1, 4, 5, and the left hand you're going to deal with 1 and 5 toggle, and you can also learn your octaves, which are quite easy. A's octave is A, and D's octave would be D. And along with the 5, you can drop down, and this creates bass movement which is very melodic in nature and draws you to the chord. It kind of embellishes and highlights the chord when you actually go and press the chord, because otherwise country music in general is very simple. It's just the 1, 4 and 5s which we play, at least in the old school music. Okay, so I'm just going to play you the pattern, and then we are going to learn it with me. Try to get your pianos out and stay tuned till the very end. We'll be doing 3 patterns in this lesson. So the first pattern is a traditional waltz style where you go left, right, right, left, right, right. So that's the first thing you want to coordinate with your body. Left, right, right, left, right, right. Okay. You could also say pa, pa, pa. So what is the left going to do? The left will either play the root or the fifth, and the right is going to do the chord. Okay, so it's going to be just at the very default level or this basic level. A would be the root of the A major chord. I'm currently comping A major. Okay, so A and the actual chord in the right hand. So left, right, right. Play your right hand slightly staccato. What I like to do is pa, pa. Maybe the first one staccato and the second one legato. Try that with me if possible. Pa, pa. You can always say pa, 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 pa. There we go. Now, once you're confident with that, every alternating time you can do A, E, A, E. That's your toggle. Root, fifth, root. You could also kind of do root, fifth, higher fifth, root, higher fifth, or root, lower fifth, root, lower fifth. Okay, and what happens is just before we transition, or I guess if the chord's getting boring, just to play, you can do these bass climbing ingredients like so you don't want to stop your right hand. The right hand continues, but ba 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 bum. So we'll get to that later. Let's first try and do the progression at hand. The progression we have in this exercise is A, 4 bars, and then E 7th, 4 bars. Then you stay on E 7th for another 4 bars. Come back to A. So that's like your main A section of this composition. So let me just do that with a little bit of singing. Da na 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 ba da da na na na. E for another 4. Na 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 na. Okay, so it's A 4 times, 4 bars of 3 4, and na 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 na. E 4 times, E 7th rather. This is how we are playing it. G sharp B D E, G sharp B D E. So tum pa E B E E B E, back to A. And now we continue. That's your 1 chord. 1 7, that's A 7 D D E 4 times and na 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 goes on. Okay, whole story again. You can follow the charts. We have the charts there. So tum pa tum te re re do bum pe. Okay, and also observe there are some climbs which happen. So let me actually teach you the climbs before we do the whole thing together. That will be A, E, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. And that kind of is fitting, right? Because your goal is to go down from A to E, because E is the next chord. You could have even gone up to E, but it's nicer to go down to E because it's closer. The distance traveled is lesser if you're climbing down in steps. So you go A, E, A, tum, pum, pum, pum. That's what makes it very country, because it's making the chord a lot more interesting, or I would say the transition to the chord a lot more interesting. Okay? A, E, A, re, re, do, B, B, pum, 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 pum. Now, when you're staying on E, you can still make that E major chord a lot more interesting by going E, B, E, pum, 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 pum. That can work. Pum, 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 where you're just playing the E major chord in crotchets or quarter notes at the end of the bar. Ta, 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 tan, 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 ta, ta. Now you're going back to the A. So how do you go back to the A? Pum, 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 pum. So you climb down from A to E. Now you're climbing up from E to A. So let's do that again. I'm guessing this is the first half of the song. Tung, 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 de ro 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 ra, tum pum pum pe tu pe. Climbing, pum 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 A. Now tan 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 ta. You still do tung 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 A E A7th A going to D, because A7th wants to go to D. It's a secondary dominant chord. So to climb better, A, E. A7th, climbing to D. How did I do? A, B, C sharp, D, D, A, D. Now coming down, D, A, D. So I want to go to the low E, D, A, D. So he's going down D, A, D. D, A, D. Okay? Now coming to the end section, E, B, E, climbing, same story, A, E, A. Whole thing again. Okay? So it's basically A 4 times, E7th 4 times, E7th 4 times, A 4 times, then A twice, A7th twice, D 4 times, E 4 times, end on A 4 times. So yeah, that's quite a bit of bars, but you can play it and you'll get a feel of it. Okay, let's do the whole thing slowly. A, E, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. Dum, 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 bum, bum, bum. Always a climb somewhere at the end. Dun, 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 dun. Don't forget your right hand. 7th, climbing to the 4, D major. Bum, bum, bum. Keep your left hand legato and your right hand staccato. Bum, 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 bum. Dun, dun. Repeating. And the whole story continues. So that's your traditional waltz feel. Now, one more very common country pattern which you can generate just using this idea which we talked about, climbing up, climbing down, and all that, and the syncopation between the hands, is now instead of a waltz feel, let's go to a traditional 2-beat feel, where it's going to be 2 beats, or you can even count it as 4x4. So let me play the 2-beat for you, and then let's get to that. I'm going to take C major. Okay, let's change scales. So we'll do 3 scales in this lesson. So one country rhythm pattern on A, one more on C, and the next one's going to be on G. So you're going to learn a lot of scales, so stay tuned. So you have, this is how it kind of sounds. Okay, so as you can see, it's very left, right, left, right, left, right. Almost like the hands are marching. So march, left. So I would suggest first get this. Nice staccato right hand would be nice, I feel. Pa, pa. You can even say So the first chord is C major. Pa, Now when we go to F, because F is here and it's annoying to shift your hand position, what we could do, F, C, F, C. Instead of doing F high C, you can do F low C, because low C you're already fingering it for the C chord. C, G, C, G, F, C, F, E, C, G, C, G. Now G7, G. Same stories, your hands not changing position. So C, G, F, C, G, D, C, G. Then F, G, F. It's essentially fifths. The upper fifth in the case of C. For the other two chords, just so that you're keeping the positions closer, lower fifth, lower fifth. So whole story. F. So I'm just showing you C to F, and then let's do the climbing ups and climbing downs, which also are great. C, G, C, G, F, C, F, C. So that was C major, F major. Now let's do that with climbs. C, G, C, C, D, E, F. You're repeating that C twice. C, G, C, C, D, E, F, C, F, F, E. You could do that F, F, E, D for additional effect. The staccato at that first beat, C, of the climb. Tum, bum, bum, climbing up to F, climbing back to C, climbing up to F, climbing down to C. Oh, I sound like a kindergarten teacher, but anyway. So C, G, climbing up to F, climbing back to C. Now C, C, B, A, G. I want to go to G. So instead of doing, I prefer higher C down to G, 7th, low D, G, G, A, B, C, G, C. Then it comes back lower. So you can use the root or octave down the fifth, down to the root, to kind of take you to different octaves. So this can be very helpful if you want to expand the range of the bass. So let's do that whole thing again. C, G, C, C, D, E, F. I'm telling you the bass. Pum, 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 C, G, ra, 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 ra. So that was higher. C, second line, ta, na, 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 G7. That's how I'm playing G7th, B, D, F, G, so that it's closer to C. I'm playing inversions on F also. C, F, A, C, G, B, D, F, G. This is how my right hand chords are being played. Okay, C, F major, G7th, and back to C. Whole story again. C, G, climbing up to F, C, back to the C. And higher C, ba, ba, G, D, G, and back to C, G, lower C, pum, 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 F, C, F, F, E, D, C, G, and G, G, A, B, C, G, lower C, G. That's sort of the pattern. Now you can fool around, I guess. You don't have to necessarily always do G to the lower D. You can do G to the higher D, or F to the higher C, or C to the lower G. Up to you. So the fifth can either be above the root or below the root. Okay guys, let me do the whole thing very slowly, that we get a feel of it, and then let's move on to the final pattern, which is going to be quite interesting for finger independence and so on. That's the bass, which I'm singing. So that was the two feel for traditional country music. So I have one more for you called Western Swing. So let's get cracking with that. So I've chosen the G major scale for Western Swing, as we call it. First of all, it's swung. So swung means instead of the eighth note going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, like you're swinging da 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 dum da dum. So let me play you a snippet of this swing groove, and then we'll obviously break it down. It's on the key of G. So your chords are your G major chord, D7th, which is the 5, and then of course G. So the shapes which can get you started would be G major, GBD, then that's F sharp, A, C, D. We're playing it around the region of middle C, and then you go D7th. You can play it however you want, really. I'm just choosing the default position, which is GBD. Now the pattern here is, let me play a bit. Now if you study my pinky, you see it's clinging on to that top note. So this is a great finger independence exercise which can really ensure that this one finger stays down while the other fingers continue to do their own thing. So let me just break that down with only the G chord. Okay, so whole bar 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fast. And what's the left hand doing? The same thing as earlier. G, T, G, T. Slowly. So now when we want to go to the next chord, D7th, we could play. And in some cases you could hold on to the G, to the top D of the G major chord for longer. So now it's held on for a whole 2 bars. Of course, you're going to eventually want to play this a bit faster. Stuff like that. Okay, so let's do line 1 of the workout. Again, one more time. Holding on to that D for the G major chord. D7th, G major. Again. Now for the next line, I'm trying to invert it just for fun. So the old G and D was voiced here, but then the second line, I think that's beautiful. Okay, that's the second line for you. F sharp and G, F, third line C, C minor, G, D, G, and okay, third line's a bit tricky. There are many chords, so that's G, G7th, again G, G7th, C major in the second inversion. So whole story, G, G7, C major, C minor. Let's do that again slowly. G, G7, the left hand's just doing fifths, toggle, and D, sorry, G major, and D, back to G major, and let's do the whole thing again. G, G played higher, and D7, and G, G7, deep G. Again, don't worry about the fifth being higher or lower than the root of the chord. I think both work well. Just go with the flow because it's also chord progression dependent and how you shift and what you find convenient or the sound or the vibe you like, I guess. So don't obsess over whether the fifth should be above or below the root. You could learn this the way it is though. And don't forget with the western swing as we call it, the pinky has to hold. Okay, let's do western swing very slowly. So let's do the whole pattern super slow. Try to play along. Slightly slower. Right, guys, so those were 3 patterns. Now, there are MIDI files waiting for you on Patreon. There's some notations as well, and some of my notes for you to supplement the learning with. Remember, we've done 3 patterns, one on the traditional waltz country feel. We did that on the key of A major, if you remember. Then we took the 2/4 or the 2-beat country feel, which is like marching your hands. Do that a bit quicker, and all of these have walk ups and walk downs, both of these rather. And the last one was what they call as western swing, which is the toggling bass, but the melodic pinky of the right hand, where you have to kind of split up your hand into 2 parts, like that. Right? Anyway. Right, so those were 3 traditional country patterns. If you'd like to know more, if you'd like to learn more styles, traditional and non-traditional, you can head over to our website nathanielschool.com. There are some video courses where I've prepared structured learning material. At the time of shooting this video, at least 70 plus lessons are waiting for you there. Or if you'd like to learn with me in person, you can do one of our flagship courses depending on your level. Music method is what we call it, and you can do it over a 6-month semester with us and see how it goes and then continue learning. So we have actual courses at Nathaniel. They're all online, they're virtual. You can do it from the comfort of your home. So I look forward to catching you soon. Cheers. Again, this is Jason Zach from Nathaniel School of Music.